ihasmath, and you're going to learn how to draw and interpret piecewise functions. Piecewise means that the functions come in pieces that have all their own rule rather than one rule for the whole graph. This means that the focus is not on trying to find or use equations, but on being able to draw and interpret these graphs. Similar to line graphs, piecewise graphs come in two flavors: continuous, where basically any value for x is possible, and discrete, where, for example, only the whole numbers make sense for x. This always depends on the context. Let's have a look at some examples from past paper questions. As always, pause the video for a moment and read through the question yourself. Let's start by looking at the graphs in a bit more detail. While Talia's graph is just a line graph, Matt's graph certainly looks different. This is a step graph, and it includes some hollow circles and some filled circles. These are used to communicate whether or not a point is part of the graph. Consider, for example, how much Matt would charge for around 4 hours of babysitting. He would charge $40 for just less than 4 hours, but as the circle in this piece of the graph is hollow, we need to look at the solid circle above to find out that he charges $50 from exactly 4 hours on. You will come across these hollow and solid circles when the variable is continuous and different points are connected with a line. This notation is used when the graph has steps or jumps in them. Back to the question. In part 1, we just need to read the charge for 4.5 hours of the chart. That's $50. Part 2 is about completing the graph, but the height of the step is changing from $10 to $15. Don't forget to use hollow and solid circles to indicate which piece points belong to. For part 3, we need to use this new part of the graph to find out that Matt would charge $80 for 6 hours. So the average hourly charge is 80 over 6 or $13.33. We need to round to dollars and cents here. Part 4 is about finding the equation of Talia's graph. The y-intercept is the origin and the gradient is 10 over 1, so 10. So the equation is p is equal to 10t. Make sure you use the correct letters here. Part 5 then requires us to draw in Sasha's flat rate of $55 for up to 7 hours. Tama and Peter want to pay the lowest amount of money, so between the three graphs we are looking for the lowest one. Up to 5.5 hours, Talia is the cheapest. Above that, Sasha is the cheapest, and at exactly 5.5 hours, they charge the same. Matt is never the cheapest. Let's have a look at one more example. Pause the video and read it first. In the last example, the horizontal variable was time, which is reasonably continuous. In this question, the horizontal variable is the number of stations. This number is discrete, so I'm not going to connect points with lines. All I need to do is get the points from the table into the graph. The decimals are not really the problem here. I just put in the points and I don't have to worry about hollow and solid circles. In the second question, we need to start by putting in the data for the child's fare. I would suggest doing this in a different color so the comparison is easier later on. Once we have both graphs, we need to compare the features. It's certainly worth considering the starting values and the increases. The child's fare starts at a lower value, and the increases are smaller. The increases of both fares are constant. With piecewise graphs, we don't really worry about linking between graphs and equations. This would actually be quite complicated, as each of the steps would have their own equation. Instead, the focus is on drawing, comparing, and interpreting graphs. You need to be clear about whether you need to connect the points and how to use the hollow and solid circles for step graphs with continuous variables.